Good day everyone, we are the Group 1 and we are going to discuss element 3.4, obtain knowledge on the function, medium, and elements of cinemas as a performing art. Introduction. It was all started in 1888 when George Eastman introduced a long strips that could hold a row of thousands of separate images that is now called film. Film was used for education, entertainment, and advertising. They consider it desirable because films are lightweight, inexpensive, and easy to operate. As time goes by, maraming development and innovation ang nangyari. In early 1890s, Thomas Edison and others in both America and Europe created a camera that can record and reproduce motion. And by 1894 and 1895, Thomas Edison created a coin-operated arcade machines. The first to present projected moving pictures to a paying audience were the Lumiere brothers in December 1895. Maraming inventor ang gumaya sa Lumiere brothers. Gumawa rin sila ng sarili nilang camera and projectors gamit ang iba't ibang klase ng film formats and mechanical methods. Noong 1903, sumikat ang film na pinamagatang The Great Train Robbery, kung saan nakita ng karamihan ang potensyal ng sinema na maging major form of narrative entertainment. Lantern slides bring colors to the film. Lantern slides are positive transparent photographs made on glass and viewed with the aid of magic lantern, the predecessor of the slide projector. In 1917, Technicolor produced an entire feature with an additive process, but abandoned it for a more practical two-color subtractive process. Nakukuhaan nito yung mga reddish and greenish na mga pictures simultaneously on adjacent frames, pero piniprint sila sa hiwalay na black and white film that were then dyed the appropriate color and glued together back to back. By the end of the 1920s, Technicolor improved on its system by introducing a dye transfer process, printing the colors one at a time into a strip of clear film instead of having to glue two rolls together.
Cinematic technique through improvisation, trial and error. Certain techniques and practice accepted as convention for expressing certain ideas, indicating sequence of action and developing character. Pag sinabi mong cinematic technique, dito po ang pasok yung mga framing, angle, and camera movement of the shot, as well as the sound and editing used in the film. Theatrical elements include costume, props, sets, and acting choice. And si D.W. Griffith isa sa mga first director na nag-introduce ng mga techniques of motion picture exposition, including the close-up film shot in a which single object or face filled the screen, or yung mga cinetic long shots showing an entire panoramic view and cross-cutting, a technique of editing scene at various locations together and intermixing them. Griffith worked as an actor and playwright before turning to cinema, creating highly innovative filmmaking technique. He directed the 1915 feature-length work Birth of a Nation, which was blockbuster but was also highly racist in content. Later work included Intolerance, Broken Blossom, and Orphan of the Storm. Griffith demonstrated that a scene could be fragmented into a long shot, medium shot, and close shot to allow the audience to move gradually into emotional race heart of the scene. This dramatic orchestration has become the standard editing procedure for scene in 1908. The effect was shocking and effective. And there is Max Sennett, who worked with Griffith before. He's known as King of Comedy. He helped create frenetic new style of film comedy using the parallel editing technique he learned from his former boss D.W. Griffith. Sennett redeployed what was already a staple of silent screen melodrama to the realm of comedy. He is former actor, that's why he adapted his experience to the new opportunities offered by a film. His editing was even faster paced than Griffith. Sennett was responsible for launching the careers of Charlie Chaplin, Patty Arbuckle, Gloria Swanson, Bing Crosby, and Mabel Normand, who is known comedian in early 90s. Some of the shots in his film lasted mere fraction of a second, while many other filmmakers were still staging scenes in a single long take of several minutes each.
Dito naman sa American directors, dito sila nagkaroon ng tinatawag na competition galing sa kanilang foreign filmmakers upang magawa sila ng composition fotografiya, mga drawings, mga tema at mga realistikong takta, at yun ang kanilang importante para sa kanilang paggawa ng drawings para mahalin tulad nila ang kanilang ginawang motion drawing sa Amerika upang mas maging sikat at magkaroon ng katangian sa kanilang drawings. Next is at that time movies in the United States were largely intended by immigrants and the working class who could afford the 5-cent admission and easily follow the short, simple visual stories. Ito naman po ang paggawa ng pelikula sa United States upang maisalin nila ito bilang win-over audience film spectacles by Cabiria o 1974. Ito ay galing sa paggalaw ng kanilang kamera upang mas maayos tingnan ang bawat pag-aakto ng isang artista upang mas lalong mapabilib ang mga taong manonood ng kanilang mga pelikula. Trade journals from 1912 to 1914 reveal mixed reaction from both producers and exhibitors about some of new directors in filmmaking. Ito ay nagkaroon ng pag-focus ang kanilang performance ng pagkanap ng isang artista, director at mga cameraman upang makagawa sila ng pelikula at importante dahil mas kailanganin na ito para sa kanilang producers at mas maisaayos ang kanilang mga eksena, at ito ay pagpupursige ng mga actors para ito mapabilang sa mga box office feature attractions ng kanilang role sa alip ay pagpupukod. Although it was by no means the first feature or even the first popular epic film, the release of Griffith's The Birth of a Nation in March of 1915 was a major milestone due to its overwhelming commercial success. Dito ay sila gumawa ng sariling commercial upang sila magkaroon ng income at magkaroon ng satisfaction sa mga manonood ng kanilang video ng commercial upang ito ay gawing isang movie para ma-develop nila ang kanilang pupuntahan ng pelikula. The Birth of Nation, controversial was the must-see film that everybody went to, and substantial numbers went to see it again, then went to see other films. Producers like Cecil B. DeMille responded with stories that could appeal to a more educated and urban audience. Ito ay isang pelikula na kontrobersya na tatawag na The Birth of Nation at must-see films na ginawa nila ayon sa producers na si Cecil B. DeMille na rumeresponde sa istorya ng maaling maihabol para mas edukadong tingnan at para sa mga urban audience ng kanilang papanoorin.
Sound for silence. Crowd got even bigger by the late 1910s. New movie places were springing up as a large or larger than traditional legitimate theaters. The silent cinema was present with a musical background, just as early form of entertainment had been from slideshow to stage melodramas to grand opera. So silent films were never been silent from their earliest day as an exhibition attraction. Motion pictures were accompanied by some of the music, typically a piano, a musical combo in more modest-sized house, and sometimes an entire orchestra in movie places. Silent film sounds reconsider all aspects of sound practices during the entire silent film period based on extensive original research and accompanied by glorious illustrations. The book challenges and assumption of early histories of this period in film are reveals the complexity and wifting changing nature of American silent cinema.
Let's now proceed to actors and acting.
By the early 1910s, around the same time as the move toward feature-length films, it came a new emphasis on the performers in films who had previously been anonymous. And so on, as their faces became familiar and names promoted, a so-called star system quickly arose, with popular actors guaranteeing an audience no matter what the story or title. And as these feature-length dramatic films became firmly established, directors and actors understood the medium of silent cinema was a distinctive art form requiring a different approach from other types of performance. Mainly, this means that differing perspectives required new techniques in staging the actors in front of the camera, meaning that they need a new style of acting to recognize and exploit the absence of sound. And to add up, it now had to be able to adopt a performance to be effective in extreme long shots, medium shots, and close-up. These actors had to be skillful enough at pantomime to convey thoughts and emotions but had to avoid exaggerating when the camera was close to them. For example, many developed a habit of acting with their eyes and subtle facial twitches even more than with their bodies, William S. Hart being especially notable in this regard. The stage actor Frank Keenan used deliberately slow and underplayed facial expressions in The Coward 1915. It is one critic accused him of mugging for the camera. And as late as 1929, some of the critics were put off by the more naturalistic acting style that motion pictures permitted, and as evidence in accusations of Louis Brooks' subtle portrayal of Lulu in Pandora's Box, which is being wooden and expressionless. Now, a large number of films, especially those of the 1915 to 1920 period, contain a mixture of acting styles, some actors being relatively restrained, while others in the same scene might be flamboyantly overstated.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Shai and I will be tackling about post-war developments. During the war in 1914, it hindered the European film industry both in available resources for production and export markets, which paved the way for American cinema to dominate the world market. By the end of the war in 1918, American film techniques had equaled or surpassed those of foreign competitors. After the war, films became more refined both in cinematic technique and story material. Motion picture production had become one of the nation's leading industries. There had been wider range of daring elements or tragic endings. Their taste also changed and they prefer more sophisticated and contemporary themes and their intertitles. Instead of having straightforward description, they began to pack both exposition and character information into worded prose poems. In comedies and even light dramas, they relied heavily on puns related to topical events and trends, and self-consciously clever and abstruse sexual remarks. So, nung European War, parang nahihirapan yung European film industry. So, kaya nakaangat yung American cinema at na-dominate niya yung world market. And then, nung natapos na yung war in 1918, yung American film na umi-equal na siya o kaya naman nalalagpasan niya na yung mga foreign competitors. So, mas naging maayos din yung cinematic technique and story material. And then, sa American, yung mga films noon, kung mapapansin nyo, meron laging mamamatay, either yung bida or yung kapartner niya, ganun. O kaya naman, minsan may mga nude scenes, mga ganun, mga daring scenes, ganun. And then, nag-rely din sila sa mga jokes na related sa kung anong uso ngayon, ganun. O kaya naman, yung mga sinasabi ng mga bida, either nalalagyan siya ng sexual remarks na hindi halata na parang kailangan mong pag-isipan, ganun. Jazz age of the 1920s. more flippant approach to tradition and morality, but still they wanted their heroes to have at least appearance of propriety. So kahit papano, gusto nila yung bida, meron siyang konting morality or maayos na behavior, ganun. The heavy sensationalism by the press of the most lurid aspects, even when information was distorted, out of context or completely false, created public outrage and calls for film censorship. So dito na pumapasok yung, for example, yung isang bida doon sa isang film, nagkaroon siya ng issue, and then yung mga viewers, yung mga tao, parang nire-recommend nila na parang either ipa-censorship o kaya ipatanggal, ganun. Arbuckle Trials, the first of Hollywood's scandal. Roscoe Conkling Fatty Arbuckle was born in March 24, 1887 and was an American silent film actor, comedian, director, and screenwriter. Fatty's case became notorious after he hosted and was present at the drinking party of a young starlet that was ill and ultimately died. So I'm not sure if she's Virginia Rapp, pero sinearch ko kasi sa Google. Lumabas na si Virginia Rapp, and then yung sakit ata ni Virginia Rapp is chronic cystitis. Parang inflammation ata siya sa bladder, parang ganun. He was acquitted of murder after 3 trials but shunned by producers. So kahit na ano siya ng murder, inignore pa rin yun ng mga producers. Another trial of Arbuckle. The Arbuckle trials were going on. Another prominent case exposed the private lives of actresses Mary Miles Minter and Mabel Normand. They were linked to the unsolved murder of director William Desmond Taylor. One or both Minter and Normand was having an affair. Normand's career was damaged and Minter was devastated. Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America. The population decried both the private lives of Hollywood celebrities and the increasing suggestions of promiscuity portrayed on screen. To avoid official government censorship, major studios appointed former Postmaster Will Hayes to oversee MPPDA, a self-policing board that would approve scripts and finish films before they were released. Studios started inserting morality clauses into contracts of major stars. (1920s) Films of 1921 and before included nudity and judicious use of profanity in their title cards, sometimes excised by various state or local censorship boards around the country. At the end of 1920s, film ventured further and further into previously taboo areas, and a new 1930 production code was widely ignored until strict enforcement began in 1934. A number of American films tried to return to the tragic endings that were more common in foreign imports and in American pictures. Directors and or studio executives make alternate happy endings. Example: The Crowd, The Torrent, Love, and gives theaters the choice of which version to show. So nagkaroon na ng iba't ibang version at pwede nang mamili yung isang theater kung ano yung gusto nilang ipalabas na version.
Formal elements of film. To analyze and write or talk about movies, we need to start with a clear understanding of filmic components used to tell the story. So let's begin by establishing a vocabulary of the 5 basic elements of film form: literary design, visual design, cinematography, editing, and sound design. Bago tayo gumawa ng mga film or movies, kailangan maplano ng maayos kung paano ang flow nito
para mas maintindihan ng mga tao. Literary design. It consists of the story, ideas, and the script. The story ideas includes the characters and their action in the story, the setting of background story or subtext. The script includes the dialogue and some broad actions for the characters. Some may refer to these elements as narrative design, a broader term for storytelling, as we will see through closer viewing. However, all the elements of film form are used for storytelling. Visual design. It consists of what we see on screen inside the frame, a very broad category of components. Ito ay tungkol sa nakikita natin sa screen, kailangan maging maayos upang mas lalong mamangha or maengganyo ang tao na manood. Performance include the actors' mannerism, expression, and movement. Ito ay tungkol kung paano sila mag-react para mas makatotohanan ang kanilang role. Blocking is the arrangement of actors and props before the camera. Blocking also includes how the actors move around the set during the scene. Para mas maganda o hindi magulo ang kanilang performance, para hindi din magkamali ang magpa-perform at maayos nila itong maipipresent sa mga tao. Lighting includes the amount of light, the specific areas that are illuminated, the shadows, and the quality of light, as in soft or harsh. The lighting can contribute to perception, meaning, and mood. Ang lighting ay nagbibigay buhay sa bawat nagpe-perform depende sa kung anong style or mood ang kanilang team. Para mas maayos nila mai-perform sa mga tao at makakadagdag din ang lighting para mas mamangha ang mga taong manonood. Hair and makeup of the actors adds to the storytelling. This includes special effects, makeup like wounds, blood, or fake teeth. Somebody has to make those zombies look real. Nag-aayos sila upang mas makatotohanan ang kanilang role. Costume is what the actors wear. Period films will try to create the look of the time with costume. Costumes communicate the details of a character personality to the audience and help actors transform into new and believable people on screen. Ang costume ang nagiging way para malaman ng mga manonood kung anong klaseng character or personality ang meron sila. Set design consists primarily of how the room or space is set up as well as furniture and props. Color is an important factor in lighting, costume, and set designs. Components are sometimes referred to as mice all of this visual essence. Props are crucial in the storytelling. They complement and motivate the character, helping the actor feel more the part, setting the scene, identifying a particular time and place and cultural setting, sometimes even becoming a huge focus on the film. Ang props ay importante sa movie dahil ito ay umaakba sa karakter na mas mararamdaman nila ang kanilang role. The use of light can influence the meaning of a shot. For example, film makers often portray villains that are heavily shadowed or veiled, using silhouette techniques involving light include backlight and underlighting. These are the lighting technique and aesthetic. Background lighting, cameo lighting, fill light, flood lighting, high key lighting, lens flare, low key lighting, mood lighting, pull hole lighting, remembrance lighting, stage lighting, soft lighting. Ang mga lights po na yun ang ginagamit sa mga movie. Ginagamit po ito upang maipresent na maayos ng mga performer kung ano ang kanilang mga role or kung ano ang kanilang mga gagawin para mas maging maayos or maganda ito sa mga manonood.
Good day everyone, I'm Marcel Anaroxel de Vera from TM3C and I'm going to report the cinematography, editing, and sound design. So telling a story on film isn't just about recording the action, it's also about how the images are captured. In the film and television world, this is known as cinematography. Cinematography deals with the choices that are made for the camera. It could be the placement of the camera angle towards the subjects, the lens choice, and the camera movement. So there are three general aspects of cinematography to keep in mind. First is the camera angles, second is the camera distances, and third is the camera movement. And note that it's appropriate to determine the type of lens used kung ang gagamitin ba is wide angle, long or normal, and the type of film stock, and the speed at which a shot was filmed. Kasi lahat ng to is nagpo-produce ng different visual effect. And since cinematography sets and support the overall look and mood of a film's visual narrative, each visual element that appears on screen can serve and enhance the story. Yung mga filmmakers, gumagamit sila ng iba't ibang cinematic techniques to communicate meaning, entertain, and to produce a particular or psychological response in audience. And each of these techniques can greatly influence the structure and meaning of a film. Moreover, distance of shot, the use of different shots can influence the meaning which an audience will interpret. So here are some types of shots. First is the close-up shot that used to show tension. Usually, cinematographers frames the head, neck, and sometimes the shoulder of the subject. And next is the extreme close-up. This is a more intense version of close-up, usually showing only the subjects like the eyes or other parts of the face. And next is the medium shot. It shows an actor approximately from the waist up. This shot is used to emphasize both actor and their surroundings by giving them an equal presence on screen. And next is the long shot. It shows the full length of the subject while also including a large amount of surrounding area of the film setting. And last is the establishing shot, mainly used at a new location to give the audience a sense of locality. And next is yung mga camera angles naman, ginagamit siya para maipahayag kung ano bang gustong iparating ng scene and para maipakita yung emotions ng actors. So here are some of the angles that cinematographer use in filming. First is the low angle shot. A low angle shot frames the subject from below their eye line. This shot is a perfect angle for signaling superiority or the illicit feeling of fear and dread. And next is the straight angle shot. This is when your subject is at eye level. An eye level shot can result in a neutral perspective, like not superior or inferior. This mimics how we see people in real life. Our eye line connecting with theirs, and it can break down boundaries. And next is the high angle shot. In a high angle shot, the camera points down at your subject. It usually creates a feeling of inferiority or looking down on your subject. And last is the canted or oblique. The camera is lifted to show the scene at an angle. Next is editing. Film editing is the art and craft of cutting and assembling finished film. This work is done by a film editor who helps complete the director's vision of the movie. The creative choices of an editor are usually a combination of what they think is best for the film and what the director and producers want for the finished project. Mostly, this is done during post-production. And film editors actually have two major contributions to the story. First is the sequencing of shot in terms of how the audience reads the film. For example, cutting from an actor delivering a line of dialogue to another actor reacting to what was said. And second is the pacing of the film, which helps establish the overall feeling or mood. For example, fast cuts from one shot to another that create excitement or tension. And now let's talk about the graphic relations of editing. This is where the filmmaker links shots by graphic similarities. Graphic matches are useful in relating two otherwise disconnected scenes or in helping to establish a relationship between two scenes. Spatial relation of editing. Spatial editing, by definition, is when the relations between shots function to construct film space. Some key concepts in spatial editing are establishing shot that usually from a distance that shows the spatial relations among the important figures and setting in a film. Next concept is the reverse shot, which is an editing pattern that cuts between individuals according to the logic of their conversation. And the last concept is the eyeline match. This is the joining of different shots by following the logic and direction of characters' glance and look. Next, sound design. Sound design is how filmmakers flesh out the oral world of a film to enhance the mood, atmosphere, and tone. Sound design is the final and most important element needed to create an immersive experience for the audience. In the context of a film, yung sound, meron siyang dalawang categories, which is the diegetic and non-diegetic. Diegetic sound is sound that comes from the setting of the film. This may include the voices of characters, utensils clattering in the background, or music from a piano being played on screen. Sa non-diegetic naman, also called as commentary sound, it is a sound which is represented as coming from a source outside the story space, or in a simple word, it's the type of sound that characters in a film are not able to hear but that we can. For example, the narrator's commentary, voice of God, sound effects, and music. And sound effects, by definition, is any sound other than music or speech, artificially reproduced to create an effect in a dramatic presentation, as the sound of a storm or a creaking door. In motion picture and television production, a sound effect is a sound recorded and presented to make a specific storytelling or creative point without the use of dialogue or music. And that's all for our reporting. Thank you.